It's easy to learn lots of great lead guitar riffs. Then what? Want to learn how to permanently add those riffs to your musical vocabulary? Because that's what we do when you learn to improvise guitar solos here in the Chop Shop. Hi, I'm Bonar. I'm a guitar player and guitar teacher in Canada. This is the Chop Shop. Learn to improvise guitar solos. The Chop Shop is a practical 3-step method. Step 1, learn some of your favorite lead guitar riffs. Step 2, learn to make those lead riffs portable, movable, and reusable so you can use them to improvise guitar solos. Step 3, learn to assemble those same riffs in a way that makes musical sense. This is how a lot of pros improvise guitar solos. In Chapter 1, we did Step 1. We learned to play a number of lead guitar riffs from several popular songs. And as you go forward, I encourage you to keep doing Step 1 on your own. Transcribe the lead guitar riffs you come across that sound great to you. Send me an email at the address in the description, and I'll send you one of my Chop Shop recipe sheets so you can write out the riffs you capture in this way. Here in Chapter 2, we will learn to take those same riffs and make them portable so that we can start to use them when we improvise our own lead guitar solos. This is how we learn to improvise guitar solos. As a beginner, we get started by building a vocabulary of our favorite riffs and then weaving those riffs into our improvised guitar solos. Also, after today's lesson, I'm going to demonstrate a simple exercise to improve your left hand speed and accuracy and build up your familiarity with the extended pentatonic shapes that we use here in the Chop Shop. So stick around, I promise you'll find it helpful. As we work through this, if there's a favorite lead riff you would like to learn, leave me a comment and include the name of the song and where I can find it on YouTube, and I will have a look and transcribe the riff when I can. It might show up in a future Chop Shop episode. Okay, so we're going to start with what was chop number 3 in the Chop Shop first semester. That's a riff in the key of F sharp. Here's our riff. So let's start off by looking at the riff we learned in Chop 3, and let's lay underneath it a framework that helps us make sense of where the riff is. Here are the notes with the pentatonic scale drawn underneath our riff, and this gives us a context of the location of the riff relative to both the neck and to the pentatonic scale. I will point out that the root note for the key of F sharp is highlighted in pink. The root note is like the registration mark on a simple stencil. We just line that pink circle up on the neck with the location note of the key signature we're playing, and in this case F sharp on the 2nd fret of E, and all the other notes in this grid will be in the right place for us to use the pentatonic scale in this key. You can see how the pentatonic scale provides a simple framework that provides us with context for the notes that are around our riff. Okay, so let's say we want to use this riff in a different guitar solo, say a guitar solo in the key of B, a different key. We would need to quickly and easily move our riff into a new target key signature, and here's how we're going to do that. To move this riff to a new key signature, we simply drag the same pentatonic minor scale diagram that we have here along the neck until the pink circle is located in the new root, on the new root note, which is the B on the 7th fret of the E string, is the one we're going to. The pentatonic grid provides a simple context for how this riff fits into the song we borrowed it from, and by dragging the grid to the new location, we make sure the riff has the same role in the new song we're going to use it in. And that's all there is to it. We need to go through this exercise with each riff that we want to use when we are building a new solo. At first, it makes sense to use a careful, systematic method. This helps us reduce the risk of mistakes and out-of-key riffs or notes. However, as we repeatedly work through the simple process, then the process itself will become second nature. There's another good reason for doing this. A big part of what we are doing is installing these lead riffs into our muscle memory. We need to do that if we're really going to be able to employ those riffs when we want to. The process of practicing each riff in many locations on your guitar is the best way to turn this riff into a familiar phrase that you can reach for naturally when you want to put something together. And here we are at 15. We are going to wrap up shortly, but stick around after because we are going to look at a simple and effective way to dramatically increase the accuracy and efficiency of your left hand when improvising lead guitar solos, so don't miss it. Today we went through a series of steps that you want to repeat as often as you can, because these steps empower you to turn any riff into a meaningful ingredient in your lead guitar solos. Step 1, find a riff you want to reuse. Step 2, learn that riff, write it down on tab. It's a good idea to write it down and put on a map of the pentatonic scale as well, so that you start to know where the riff is on the pentatonic scale. Find out the key signature of the song the riff comes from. Find out the key signature of your target song. You take the riff you've learned, and using the pentatonic scale, you drag the whole grid onto the new root note of the new key signature, and there you are. That's all there is to it. As we discussed in the last lesson, the chop shop method employs a pentatonic scale. The pentatonic scale is broadly used as a generic framework for lead guitar. Here we have the pentatonic pattern that we use today. The pattern is built around the shape of the E chord. I call it the extended pentatonic E form shape. One of the obstacles to lead guitar fluency that I frequently see in many players of every level is poor left hand efficiency. We can use the extended pentatonic shapes as a simple practice grid to help solve that problem. The first problem I'm going to solve today is poor efficiency. Here you can see what I see almost every day, players unnecessarily moving their hand, not anchored to any position. When I play like this, I have no physical anchor to a neck position. It's hard to keep track of where my fingers are. In addition, I'm adding extra motion to the index finger, which slows me down. Most of the time, I do not need to lift my index finger off the neck, and so I, personally, never do. Instead, I consider my left hand to be like a flipper. This approach provides the dual benefit of A, anchoring my index finger to a particular location which is easy to remember, B, reduces the motion of the index finger for any notes I play with the index finger. Here you can see the flipper hand motion I'm describing, and I'm sure you recognize this as a common basis for many, many lead guitar riffs. Here I'm using the same flipper hand motion, but now across the full extended pentatonic E form shape. Using these two exercises as a daily warm-up very quickly reduces the inefficient motion in your left hand, dramatically improves your practical familiarity with these pentatonic shapes, which you might not be accustomed to using. We need to know where our fingers are and where the next riff lives, and this is an easy way to have that awareness at your fingertips. As I mentioned in the last episode, it's extremely convenient for us to play diagonally across the neck because it gives us a large span of notes that we can play in an ascending or descending order, all in one shape without having to learn a bunch of grids. This brings us to the end of today's episode of Learning to Improvise Guitar Solos with the Chop Shop. Please click the like and please subscribe to the Bonar Guitar channel. A PDF of the diagrams from today's episode, including tab for the flipper hand warm-up, is available. Send me an email at the address in the comments to request the PDF, and I'll send you a copy at no charge. I'm Bonar, and I hope you'll visit the channel again soon.